we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another episode of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. It's a special, the big Arsenal transfer prediction podcast. We're the best at it. All the others have tried and failed. We're the only successful ones when it comes to transfer podcasts. Listen to us last year. Tommy Asu, click. And I'm joined by James Johnstone. How you doing, James?
Yeah, I'm very, very good. Yes, a lot of pressure you've just put on all of us there. But one thing I will say is we are free. We're not charging anyone to listen to this.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, there's no catch. It's just you and me either getting it spot on, like you said, a la Tommy Asu, a la don't worry about Declan Rice because it'll be a club record bid. I'll throw my hat in the ring.
You got that one big time.
We did get that one.
I didn't agree with you on that either.
No, I know.
You were adamant on that one.
I was. Like I said, I had good intel.
Yes.
But yeah. No, we're gonna try. We're gonna try. Just don't cook us in the comments that much or on the socials.
We don't mind. All interaction is good interaction in a way. We're not doing it for bait. We're just doing it what we want and think could happen. But let's talk a bit about how this podcast goes. It's pretty simple. What we're going to do, we're going to talk about the sales that we think are going to happen. It's really just focused on what's going to happen in the summer transfer window. So we're not talking about games or anything like that or preparation or the Euros. No, forget about all that. We're giving you our real names as well. So that's already one up on a lot of the other podcasts. So we're going to talk about sales. We're going to give you specifics on who we think will be sold, who we think will be loaned out, because there's obviously a difference there, and that might affect incomings. So we're going to round up our totals there. We always tend to over predict our sales, but that's mainly because we are just rubbish at sales. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the stuff that you really want to talk about, which is who are we going to buy. And we're giving ourselves a 200 million spend for purchases with a 15 mil leeway on either side. So both of us are allowed to go to 185 to 215 mil ish. Now, obviously, we're making up the fees, so we can adjust those fees just to fit our purchases if we want. It's our podcast. We get to do what we want. But generally, I'm sure, James, I haven't seen your list yet. We're doing this on the fly, but I'm sure our lists are relatively realistic speaking in terms of fees and things like that. We don't use
well, Mbappe's already gone, Jack. So we did have to make it realistic because.
There you go.
A few weeks ago, we would have put him in.
That's it, exactly. And if he's free, I mean, let's face it, all value goes out the window at that point. Anyone could be costing anything. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to create
because Arsenal definitely would have paid 575 grand a week to a footballer, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I know, exactly. Yeah, Real Madrid really need that Super League, don't they? This is really hurting them, this stuff. I could notice Perez seems very, very crushed by not having the Super League. Unbelievable. The corruption goes across. Shocking. But let's discuss outgoings first. That was the first one on the list. I figured we get that out of the way relatively quickly. But before we do, I mean, obviously, we do have to take note of the fact that us, Edu, the collective board, we've not been very good at sales. We still haven't really nailed that down. I'm really happy with everyone in place, but collectively something is off with our inability to really get value out of the squad that is getting better and better and better. And for some reason, even players that may be on the fringes, whatever, we don't seem to be able to get true value out of the squad. And people seem to, I think, in the market, look at us as a little bit of a soft touch in terms of purchases and things like that from our club. Now, we do have to bear in mind that we're not doped to the eyeballs like Chelsea and City. We don't pay agents silly fees or two-bit journalists to claim half of our players that do not play a minute as the next Ronaldo, all that kind of stuff. So we do have to sort of bear that in mind that Arsenal aren't quite in that bracket, and there are some mitigating factors there that may sort of inflate some of these fees that we're seeing, certainly on Twitter and in the realms of that. But James, the first question is pretty simple. Who do you think out of the squad? I'm going to give you mine afterwards, but I could certainly go first. But who do you think is going to get sold? And if you want, you can attach the fees to them straight away. And maybe that will create a little bit of a discussion. So sales, who you going, and what are your fees associated?
Okay, so when you sent me all this the other day, I split all of what you asked me for this question into basically 3 categories, which I was like, James's definites, James's potentialities, and then I've done loans, but I think their potential as well. And the other thing I will say as a caveat just before this is I've done this with people that were first team squad listed on like the Wikipedias and our official website. So people that I think could be sold, like your Patinos and everything else, I haven't added them in because I only went with what I thought was the first, the academy sort of players that we're potentially going to sell and get money for, I haven't included. So apologies for that to people if they thought that we were going to do it. So I've only basically done what was the first team squad on our website and what was on Wikipedia, because that was the best way for me to go. So my definites, Jack, that I've put that I feel, I'm with chest, I'm very confident we're going to get rid of are Aaron Ramsdale, Thomas Partey, Eddie Nketiah, Kieran Tierney, Sambi Lokonga, and obviously Nuno Tavares. In my what I've called potentially could go pile, I have put Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, and then I've also put Reece Nelson and Smith Rowe, because like we discussed the other day, Smith Rowe, and this goes back to one of the big listeners of the show and one of the big interactors of our show, Hente. I can't remember the actual minutes and everything, but he said he's played 7% of our footballing minutes in 2 seasons. So I don't know, other than a club, a bit like when Marco Silva bought Iwobi, you're going to get someone that could offer that sort of big fee for him, but it's purely on a punt of, can I get this player back to the level that he was previously? Because that, when all the Brazilians were naughty boys and he had to step in with Saka and all that, he pretty much, as much as we used to go back in the day, well, Nicolas Pepe, Unai Emery should love Nicolas Pepe because he kept him at Arsenal a bit longer, scoring them 2 free kicks in that Europa League game. Smith Rowe and Saka and all them at that time when the Brazilians were naughty saved Arteta's job. Because I think if he lost to Chelsea that Boxing Day and that rut continued, I don't think we have Mikel Arteta as your Arsenal manager today, because I couldn't see how you could justify those results and the way that we were going. But yeah, that Haaland lot that come in at that time did help boost him to the level that he's at now. And then again with Reece Nelson, I don't see a market for this guy. I don't know how you can get the number of minutes that he played. I don't think that any game that he started, he actually played a full 90. I think he got subbed, but all of his collective minutes made just roughly over 7 full games. And he's on 5.2 million a year. I don't know what club would offer anywhere near that wage for someone that plays less than 10 games a season, 10 full games a season in terms of minutes.
Crazy, isn't it?
And again, I should have jotted it down because we sent each other it the other day, but we said such. I think the only time that he's done over 1,000 minutes for a season was the one where he was at Feyenoord, and that is literally because they went quite far in the conference. I think they got to the final of the Conference League and lost it, didn't they?
To Roma,
yeah. So he went all the way in that. I think they had a very good run in the Dutch Cup as well, and also he played quite a bit for him in the league. So, but honestly, I do not see potential for where, unless again, like we said, it's a massive punt from somebody that's going to gamble on those 2 players. And then my loans that I've got in here, Jack, I put Vieira possibly. I don't think 100% he will, but I think it's possible. And then obviously a definite loan for me will be Marquinhos again, because I don't think he'll be sold. But I do believe Marquinhos. I mean, I was shocked that he was still classed as a first-team player on the website and the and Wikipedia and everything. But
what's left in his contract? Do you know the years? Do you have any idea?
I don't.
I'm trying to work out what.
All I know at the moment, Jack, is that he's being deployed as a left back. He's been playing as a left back out there in Brazil now. So I'm like, is that an interest? Is that a development that Arsenal, you know, I know we have a loan manager and everything, but is that something that the club have gone, okay, and let's see how he develops in that position? Or is it just a case of they're like, do what you want with him? Yeah. I mean, that's something we probably won't get clearance of. If that's a club thing where it's like, okay, let's see how he can be out there as a left back. I mean, I don't know. The small glimpses we saw of him, I thought he looked like a very sort of good but raw winger. You know, he scored that goal in that Europa League, and I was just like, yeah, you've got something, but you are very, you know, you are extremely raw. Yeah, and then the loans that he had, obviously within the country, went down to the Championship, and I think they started well, but then they didn't. You know, a bit like Patino, yeah. Like they start well and then they don't really. Yeah.
Okay, so out of your sales, you got Ramsdale, Partey, Eddie, Tierney, Lokonga, Tavares as your for sure sales. You got numbers attached to those?
Yeah. So
approximate numbers?
Yeah. So I'm gonna gamble and say that I think we pull at least 30 million for Ramsdale.
Okay.
I think obviously we're going to take a loss on him because I think we paid 35, didn't we?
I thought we paid 26, but I could be wrong. Okay. I'm going to look it up. Okay. Carry on.
Numbers, So I think we're going to get roughly around 30 million for him. Partey, people have said that the value's 15 to 18. I can't see that at all, especially with a year left. Yeah. I think we're lucky if we get anywhere between 10 to 12 million for Partey. I think, and if you got an offer for him now at 10 million, I'd bite your hand off for it. And Ketia, I actually think he will get 30 million because he's actually played in the Premier League. He scored a hat-trick this season. So there will be clubs going, you know, we know that if we can put him in a system that's not like Arsenal where he's a sole lone forward that has to try and link play as well. If you just go, you're in there, mate, score goals. I think there's clubs that will bite your hand off for that player. And that's the sort of football that he can do. So I believe we'll get the full 30 million for him. Tierney, I think that's a 10 million. I don't think you're getting any more than 10 million for him, sadly. Lokonga, I think you're getting about 12 million for him, if you're lucky. And Tavares, again, that's about 10 million for him as well. So I've gone for a hugely, hugely optimistic between 90 to 104 million in sales there.
What was the 14 million discrepancy? Sorry, I mean, 30, 19, 12.
Yeah, because I'm going on the low ends. You know, I'm not
90 to 104. Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously the Ramsdale and your Nketiah sale are your biggest two because they count as homegrown. Yeah. So that's 60 million pure profit on the book because obviously if you sell the homegrown player, that's pure profit on your book. So that allows you to spend more. That helps. Is that for
homegrown players that come through your club, like Eddie? Or is it for homegrown players that you've purchased, like Ramsdale, who was 24 million on a purchase, by the way? We purchased him for 24
million. Okay. Yeah, so
that would be a profit,
Yeah, it can. I mean, I had to Google the other day, does Kieran Tierney count as homegrown? And he doesn't because obviously he was brought up from a foreign academy. So they said if it's from they count if they've been brought through an academy that was in not UK, sorry, but in England. So if it's an English club that they've come through, they count as homegrown.
Yeah.
Which is why Chelsea are so desperate to get Hutchinson out for nearly 25 to 30. You know, looking at getting 25 to 30 million for Hutchinson, and it's just like, we did all
and Gallagher, of course.
We done the groundwork with Hutchinson in our academy, and yet.
Oh yeah, we didn't put that in. There's some sort of sell-on clause there as well. We don't know what it is, but there is some sort. Some people say 50%. I'm sure it's not 50, but maybe it's 25 or something.
No. If it's anything more than 15, I'll be shocked, Jack.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're probably right. 15 is probably where we're at. We had one with Balogun. That would probably be a good one to check. We set one up with Balogun with Monaco. I don't know what that, but it was no way near 25. So
yeah, and also one of the shocking ones that was with Balogun as well, which I don't think we've done for a lot of players, is we've put the first refusal in. So if any club was to ever bid for him, Arsenal would get told.
Oh yeah, so for a while.
Yeah.
Well, not that I know of. But how many of your, so 90 to 104 million, how many of your potential sale players out of Jesus, Cini, Nelson, Smith Rowe, for purposes of this, do you think any of those will be sold? Or are you kind of not willing to put your neck on the line for any of those at this point?
I think maybe one. And I'd say the one that does go would be, I think maybe Zinchenko, because I believe out of all of them, even though I don't necessarily rate him that highly as a player for us currently, I believe there will always be a market for a Zinchenko player. Yeah. Because there are some that would buy him to play centrally like he does for his country and not to play him as a left back. So I think I think there would be market for Zinchenko. But again, with like we've just talked about with Nelson and Smith Rowe, of course people, but yeah, they're gambles. It's whether a club wants to, like I'm sticking my neck on the line now, want to stick their neck on the line buying one of them two players. Same with Gabriel Jesus, really, in that on his day, he could be fantastic, but now as he's getting, older and everything else, can that knee really hold up? It's very reminiscent to, and he's a much better player than, I'm not trying to compare him as players. He's a much better player than Demba Ba. But if you remember, Demba Ba had that knee and it was literally like, if that goes, this is it. So you're buying him on the premise of, well, we could buy someone that could never play football again with that knee, but let's get him out here and see what happens. I think with Jesus, you're really looking at it thinking, how many games is he going to give me? And then how many goals, what was it, 4 goals in the league this season from him? It's not good, £50 million. Not good. Not good enough.
Not good enough, no.
Not good enough.
Huge wage as well, Jay-Z. I mean,
exactly.
I know I think I read somewhere that he's not going to have any surgery. They don't deem it necessary. I read somewhere. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I read somewhere on Twitter this week. But hopefully that means he's, and I saw a picture of him on Instagram jogging, so he's obviously not gone in for surgery because he's running on treadmill and stuff like that. So hopefully that means he comes back firing. I want to see him lean like he was when we first bought him.
Did he get picked for Copa America, or did they leave him behind?
They left him behind. Okay. So that's
that could motivate him.
Him, Odegaard. I don't know what Norway are doing, going around playing international friendlies. You're not qualified for anything. Just stay out. Just leave them be. Stop playing them. I know they have to, but just get them out. Do you know what I mean? But okay, so we got a rough up to 104 million, and shockingly, I think I'm slightly above you on fees in.
Oh wow!
Not in the method that I thought. I did add Patino in, so I guess I'm cheating a little bit there. So we could subtract that, but we'll keep it. So I've got I don't know where my extra money is actually. I'm trying to make sure I've calculated it correctly. Let me have a look. I've got Eddie, 22 million. I think we'll get for him. I know it sounds low, but 100k a week. I still think. You know my thoughts on Eddie, but I'm not gonna expand on it too much. But 22 mil, I do think he'll do well in the Prem though. Whether it's a Wolves or a Palace or a West Ham, I could see him doing well at that sort of, bottom of the top half, mid-table area. I think he could do really well. Partey, I said 12 million, a bit like you. I said Kivior for 22 million. I think we might sell Kivior. There's just been too many rumours around him since January, even about him going back to Italy and all this kind of stuff.
I would be so gutted if we did.
Yeah, it throws up a little bit on the signings.
I really like it. I like Kivior a lot. I think there's massive up. There's massive potential there for us.
Yeah, and I think we probably would rather sell Zinchenko. However, his wage throws me. His wage is about 150 grand a week, and he's got no calves left. So my theory on that is other people are gonna, that theory. I was kind of here with Kivior, Zinchenko. I went with Kivior. Smith Rowe. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. So basically, this is the time to sell him. You're not going to loan him. He's too far beyond that. I said 15 million for Smith Rowe. I don't know if that's realistic. I said 8 million for Tierney. Again, I think that might be a little bit high as well, but we'll go with it. I said 10 million for Lokonga. I said 7.5 million for Patino. And I completely forgot about Nuno Tavares, but as you mentioned him, I said 7.5 million for Nuno Tavares as well. So unless I've done my calculation wrong, that comes out to 114 million. But I think it's because I've added in a couple there that you said may loan or you switched the sale up on them. And I didn't put down potential sales, but I agree with yours in terms of certainly Jesus and Zinni are there, but the wage is what holds me on putting them into my sale list. So we're pretty close in terms of number, but our players are a little bit different, which is good because it's the first time we're hearing it on both ends because we want it to be on the fly, right? So anything more to say on the sales? Shall we move on to loans? What do you reckon?
I think that's pretty much it for me. And I'm quite glad how sort of nearly close we were.
Yeah,
that makes me feel quite good because sometimes I'm like, am I deluded thinking we're going to get this much? But then I'm like, no. Now that we're in the same sort of ballpark, I feel a bit more comforted.
Yeah, I know it's good because usually I'm way below. And to be honest, we're usually both way above. Well, we're going to end up getting 12 million in, aren't we? It's going to be ridiculous, but we're going to go with it. It feels
that's
like
that's the one thing I believe. The board, the members of the board have come out and said in these meetings, with the AST and with other fan groups and everything else, they've said that we really need to get better at selling because we are behind our competitors with that, and that's something that they're really looking at doing. And I'm like, you do, you really do, because again, it's the previous regime, so I won't try and get that angry about it. But I'm like, when you've got people holding Arsenal Football Club to, they're like, pay me to leave this football club. We should never be doing. It's obviously people go, yeah, but you're a fan. I'm like, no, it's not that you're a fan. I'm like, this is the Arsenal, like the Arsenal. No, we shouldn't be. Man United and stuff like that shouldn't be doing stuff. We're big teams. We shouldn't have people holding us to ransom, refusing to pay and all that until we pay them off. It's a joke, mate. But it's a previous regime, new lots in there. So I'm backing them. So show me what you got, boys. Show me what you got.
I think Eddie could be the catalyst here. Lots of people want their striker in early. He's
of course.
Not at the Euros. Seeing him training hard. He, to me, as much as I've been negative on him, he always strikes me as someone that wants to play. He's never.
I was just about to say this, like we discussed the other day.
Whereas he wouldn't say that about Reece Johnson.
Yeah, him and Ramsdale. Even though there's some aspects of Ramsdale's personality that's developed over this season that I don't like, I respect the fact that he's like, I feel in myself that I should be a number one, and I don't begrudge him for that because he is. I've seen obviously. When we signed Raya and I was telling everyone he's a better goalkeeper and I was getting smashed for it, Jack. But in the long run, don't want to say I told you so, but there we go. He's still a good goalkeeper in his own right. He's not complete bobbins, Aaron Ramsdale. So he definitely would slot into a team and be their number one with ease. Yeah, especially some of the ones that he's been linked to, a la Newcastle and Chelsea. Pope is a very, very good shot stopper. I won't deny that. But with his feet and everything, even though I don't think Aaron Ramsdale's the best at distributing, as we've discussed, he's levels above what Nick Pope and Dubravka or Karius that they have would do. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. There. So, out of who's left, who gets loaned?
I think, again, potentially it's going to be obviously Marquinhos, and that's a very, that's low-hanging fruit, which I've used there to obviously put. But I think Vieira could. I think Vieira could because, again, like we talk about the buy-ins, there could be a player there that we want in that position, but there isn't a market for a Vieira sale. But there could be a market for someone to loan Vieira in. I look at it again. I was watching another friend of the show, Melvin, do a podcast the other day, and he was saying that he's using a principle for himself of I want them at Arsenal now if they didn't already play for us. And he's like, Vieira, I wouldn't. Jesus, I wouldn't. And Zinchenko. So he's like, what other club would be really watching him and going, oh, they'd do a job for me, They'd do something for, unless there's a previous link or it's, these are sort of things I feel could be done late.
Yeah.
Because someone's got when we all went to America and everything for our pre-season, we were quite lucky. But there were a lot of Premier League clubs, mate, that, what was it, 7 to 9 players did ACLs in them American tours.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, and Cuckoo, I remember being a big one.
A big injury, didn't he? A few injuries in the season. Obviously he was chomping all of us in our game, but I think Lisandro Martinez got a big injury, didn't he? In one of the games in America. So that's something you got to look out for in that. Yeah, where they play in these pre-season games, especially after they've come off these international tournaments where they've played every single minute as well, they can get these injuries. So it can, in your head, you've got a plan of what your squad's going to be. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like us with Timber. It can happen. It can sadly happen. But that's
first
sometimes
game,
where you have to do something late, isn't it? Especially with these tournaments, you have to save something back in case of a
47 or 48 minutes into his first game, bang, and that's it. He's done, and he don't play again till the last game of the season. Yeah,
shocking, isn't it? Shocking.
Yeah.
So Vieira, okay. Anyone else?
Just like I said, Marquinhos was an easy one to pick.
Yeah.
But I don't see, again, like I said, I didn't include the academy. I think the academy lads, there'll be loads of them that go out on loan.
Oh, yeah.
Because we do. But I'm sorry if people want names of who I think they're going to be. And I didn't really look at them enough.
No,
you don't need like, he will. So, apologies. If people wanted that content, I haven't provided it. So
I've got one or two, so I can provide my minuscule amounts of it. But I said Vieira was at the top of my list. I said I think he'll get loaned, and the only thing I put is loan him to someone in the Prem for all the value of what Melvin said and other people said. Would you want to buy Vieira? No, but if I think there's a lot of teams in the Prem that would want to take Vieira on loan. I genuinely do think that he's creative. He's got great numbers in the Portuguese league, even with us per minute. In his first season, he really is good at creativity. From you need to bring someone on. He's a real good value in that. I think. Obviously, the strength part of it worries me a little bit, but I could definitely see him doing a really good job in the league. And even if he doesn't, we need to see it. So if he does it and we're like, wow, this is what he looks like when he plays every week, then fantastic. We either get a great fee in for him or we recall him. But I feel like sending him out back to Portugal, or I'm not sure what we're going to see from him, send him over to France or something. I'm not sure how much it's going to help. Maybe it'll help his value a little bit, but I'm not really sure if it will show whether he can ever be a player for Arsenal, And I'm still not 100% willing to be like, sell the guy. And bigger than that, I don't think Mikel Arteta will be. I think he'll probably want to not admit to the 35 million purchase being a dud just yet and loan him. So I'll say loan there. I said Nelson would get loaned to a Premier League club. The reason I said it is, one, I think we'd want to sell him, but two, I don't think he's got any real desire to play, and he's 25 now, he's barely played any minutes, and he's happy just being an Arsenal player and telling everyone it on his holidays and stuff. But he's on £100 a week. That's hard, but I think we'll want to make space. So I think this could be one that happens late, and the only thing I'd request from that is just loaning to someone in the Prem that actually is going to play him every week. But he does the same thing, Denny Nelson. Every time he gets linked to someone else, he picks up a hamstring injury for 2-3 weeks, and the transfer window closes, and then he pops back up on the bench for us eating a prawn sandwich, and that's that. So I'm not holding out my breath, but I said Nelson, get loaned to someone in the Prem. I said I excluded a few. I said Marquinhos. I said Lewis Kelly to the Championship, and I said if we can sign Dubry up, because I know his contract runs out at the end of June, I said put him to the Championship again. Almost do what I guess Chelsea did with Amari Hutchinson, but with Dubry, who plays in a similar position. I think's got just as much potential. He was on the USA tour last year, and I think he looked great in some little moments, cameos that he had. So I'd do that. Beyond that, I'd like to see a couple of. Do you know
how long Nelson's got left? Is he 2 years?
No, he's till 2027. I think I looked it up.
Oh yes. Oh well. Yeah.
It was like this time last year that we signed him up, wasn't it? Because we were like, what are we going to do with Nelson? I think he signed a 4-year deal last year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then he's perfect. He's perfect for a loan then, because
And sorry, sorry to interrupt. The last one was Ramsdale, because I said he wasn't going to be sold. I said Ramsdale's going to be loaned. The only thing I put is I think he'll get loaned with maybe an obligation or an option, but I think he'll be loaned. And I don't think he'll get loaned to one of the big teams either. I think he'll get loaned to like a West Ham or a Wolves or a team like that. I heard that maybe Jose Sarr leaves and Wolves need him or something like that. A team where he's definitely going to play. I think he'll get loaned to in the Prem, and I think it's not a bad idea actually, because we were stupid enough to give him the contract 3 months before we bought Raya. So it makes it really hard, and his value's dropped since that point. So get him, make sure he goes to somewhere where he definitely plays.
He didn't do any favours for it last night either.
No, I know he's not done any favours for it. He's played for us this year either, really. And I've watched him, but if he plays 30 games in a season, I think his value will go up, because, like you said, I think he is a very good goalkeeper. I just don't think he's as good as Raya. That's the only point. And I think suddenly we could be sitting here next year going, okay, definitely now going to get good money in for Ramsdale, because let's not forget last year he was one of the most valuable goalkeepers in the world apparently. So I think we might be selling ourselves short to sell him in a way this year. So I'll go with that loan. So okay, we've got our overall incomings and we've got some of our loans. Now with this one, obviously the signings, just before we get to who we're going to get in, last year we asked what are like the big things that we wanted, and I think we said a few things. I can't remember exactly what we said. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but this year, James, what do you think the big things needed in terms of incomings this summer are? Is it certain positions, do we need development players, depth, any loans that you're willing, homegrown? What are you thinking? Oh, sorry, I think there's a little pause there, Karen.
Yeah. No, you froze on me there. Sorry, mate.
Sorry. So what are we thinking in terms of the big things we need in terms of incomings before we get to the players?
Yeah. So for me, I think Arsenal this summer, we do need a backup goalkeeper. I think that we need a left-footed left back. I think we need a number 6, and I think we need a wide forward and a centre forward. Or that centre forward can also drift and play as a wide forward. However, we'll get into it in a minute with my costings. I think there's room to do both. Backup goalie, left-footed left back, a 6, a winger, and a centre forward.
Yeah, I wrote all mine down, and I pretty much agreed with all of that. I said a left back or a left centre back, depending on who leaves, Zinni or Kivior. Goalkeeper 6'8". I kept putting 6'8", but I said the 6 need is greater, especially if Partey leaves. I think that was basically what you said. Central striker to support Havertz, because I personally think Jesus is almost done there as a central option, almost. And I said a winger or pocket player, which I'm kind of calling that 8 position. And I said it's a winger if Jesus leaves, but a pocket 8 player if Smith Rowe and Vieira leave, basically.
Spot on.
So, yeah, we were kind of on the same there. And beyond that, I did put in a little bracket, maybe just a little notification on the homegrown stuff, because in mine and your sales, there's obviously 2 or 3 or loans, decent homegrown players, which I don't really understand fully the homegrown stuff, but I know we could, Ranieri, I think will fill one of that role into it, maybe, but we may need to purchase one homegrown player in our options. I don't know if you put that in there, but I've kept that in mind in terms of my options, thinking, does someone need to be homegrown here? But overall, I think we've agreed. Sorry, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, like you put in the stuff that you asked me. For me, I think that this number 6 that we buy, the wide forward and the centre forward, if we get 2, and then also your backup goalkeeper, they need to be starting ready. So, as much as I'm a huge David Raya fan, think he's brilliant and everything else, Ramsdale, other than, obviously when he kicked it and it went straight to the opposition player and they scored from it, he is, you know that there'll be a slight drop off, but it's not like what we used to have before when if Ramsdale didn't play, it was a Turner. So you need somebody like David Raya, maybe not like for like, but you need somebody that if Raya, and touch wood, it doesn't happen, but if he smashes himself to bit, if he's out with like a concussion or anything like Ederson was towards the end of the season, do you think City fans were really upset because Ortega was playing? A lot of them are actually going, Ortega's better. So we don't mind, they're looking at potentially selling Ederson this summer and keep putting Ortega up as the number one. So you want a goalkeeper that each week, if some, or even in the cups, Jack, the Champions League now is going to be a 19-game tournament. You put that on top of a 38-game league, FA Cup and the Carabao, you're pretty much going to this backup goalkeeper. You can play all of that, really. You get all the cup games, and then if something does happen to Raya, you're in. And that, to me, I think you need someone that's starting ready. That can't be a developmental option. I feel he'll be older. I don't think he'll be a developmental purchase. I think he could potentially be older. However, I do believe, like you've said, in terms of if any of these are going to be homegrown, I think the only one that will be the goalkeeper. I think we could very well sign an older, potential English goalkeeper. So that's what makes me think, in terms of the positions and what we need to be starting ready and everything else. That's why I've put that much effort into that, because I feel, at the moment, if you're a 6, you're walking into the team. You've got to be ready. Our first game of the season, whoever that's going to be, you're muted.
That's not sorry. That's the most important one, isn't it? The 6. If you look at the squad, is, the weird thing is, James, if Jorginho and Partey's there, maybe you say no, but in terms of like short to medium term, that's the one that you can see coming in and starting straight away. I think even with the Partey late sort of run that he had, you saw some of the things that you needed that he was lacking now in terms of his sort of athleticism and recovery off the ball and things like that. So that's the one out of everyone, all those purchase positions that we're talking about, is like, that's the one we could see dropping straight in. Right, so that's probably I know you said others as well are important to be first 11, but that's the one that you're like, that needs to be first 11 ready, like day dot, like kind of thing, like straight away kind of thing. And that's what keeps, that's the hard one, to be honest, that keeps going on about it. But what should we start with? Should we start from the top or from the back of the pitch? What do you want to start with in terms of your signings?
I'm happy wherever. All
right, let's start on the forward line, shall we?
Yeah,
should we start with forward?
So I'll just caveat this, Jack, with last summer, obviously, we did 208 million on Rice, Havertz and Timber. I think this summer we're going to exceed that amount. And I think we're actually, I know you said 215 was the limit.
You've gone beyond it. You can, it's fine.
Well, yeah, I do believe, Jack, that we could go between, in my head, I think we could do 225 to 250 million this summer.
Now, with that, you're not taking into account, just to check, the 27 mil for Raya that we've got to purchase.
Yes. Yeah,
and obviously the 33 mil for Rice, but probably that's,
no, I'm not including that, right? I have included the money for Raya.
Okay, I have not, but I can easily add it in. So actually, sorry, if I do add that in, I'm at 230. Yeah.
There you go. So
we're on track.
Yeah, I've said 225 to 250.
Okay, perfect.
So I've already done 30 million on Raya, so that's in. So lock in. There's 30 million pounds there.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah. So do you want to go? Where do you want to go from?
Should we start from the top of the pitch, so the attacking area? Yeah, let's go with that. But maybe we'll discuss each player as we go.
Yeah. So for me, neck on the line, like I normally do. I think Arsenal will get Benjamin Sesko for the £55 million.
Okay, I agree with you.
I'm at least 80-20 on bet. Not from, and again, I will reveal some stuff a bit later on. But at the moment, I have not had anyone other than looking at Twitter and my own head. Not that I'm in the know and I know anything or everything. But I'm 80-20 that Benjamin Sesko gets done as an Arsenal player, because there was groundwork with his name being mentioned even in January. And that was before he had this upturn of when he was scoring all the goals in this consecutive games. And in January, there was still jury's out on this guy. But Arsenal were like, no. And I think once we get fixed with this club, once we get fixated on somebody, we very, very rarely change unless we have to. And I think we are currently fixated on this player. So I feel that he is going to get done and will be an Arsenal player. So yeah, for me, Benjamin Sesko, 55 million. Welcome to Arsenal.
And what do we like about Sesko? I mean, we've watched him a lot over the last few weeks and talked about him a lot. What do we like about him in terms of coming into our squad?
Well, I think it's the whole, basically, stylistically, he is a more ruthless version of what Havertz gives us. And I think towards the end of the season, you have to be a complete hater to not think that Havertz really helped in that running. So you are basically getting more of a, Havertz is somebody that I do feel should have been the 9 from the start, Jack. And I would love to know what would have happened if we actually went with him from a 9 option from the beginning of the season, instead of tweaked it with this player here, this player there. I would have loved to have known what would have happened if we actually played him from the 9 from the start.
Same.
And again, it's going to be a very, very tough one, because he's playing in his home. I mean, he scored a fantastic goal last night. I hate to say it, Bergkamp-esque. Very,
Sesko
very good
did
goal.
he?
No, this was a Havertz against Greece.
Havertz. Oh, yeah, I saw it. Lovely
Brilliant
turn, yeah.
Yeah, lovely little Bergkamp-esque turn and finish. Yeah. And I do believe it is going to be extremely difficult if, coming off a home Euros where he is playing as their centre forward, that they are one of the favourites to win it. If he contributes and helps Germany win that tournament on Germans, I think it's going to be very tough to go, you are not going to start as our forward next season. Yeah. However, I think with Sesko's profile and his age, a bit like, and again, I'm not comparing them as players, but I think Højlund was very young, but he knew, I might not start the season, but towards the end, I'm going to come in and show. And he did show out towards the end of the season, Højlund, I think. So I think Sesko would accept, okay, I might not start every single game, but if Havertz, 60, 65 minutes, we swap it up. I think, there's, it's the touch, it's the array of finishing. Again, he's tall. Not that Havertz is small, but he's taller. So if you want to go a bit more direct, he's an even bigger man than what Havertz is.
His leap is insane as well.
Yeah. And it's his pace. Yeah. I think, what was it, 3rd fastest sprint in Europe, I think he clocked at one stage.
Yeah, he's in the top 10 around that in the Bundesliga, but he's basically just off Mbappe's pace. But some people say he clocked the same this season, so he's probably right there, which is incredible for someone at 6'5" and that strong.
Yeah, and you've got 2 of the best players, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe, at entries into the box and entries into the final third. So, as much as, again, I was praising Havertz, and Havertz is a lot faster than what he appears to look at. You've seen some where Odegaard has put a ball into him. He's took that on, and then he's took too many touches, can't find his feet. Sesko, is going to get that quick, and then he could whippy delish into the corner. He could have that Henry finish. Yeah, little side foot into the cushion, like snooker shots, really, more than power strikes and everything else. So that to me, when you've got 2 players in Saka and Odegaard, that's basically what they thrive off. Give them the elite level finisher that they need.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously Leipzig have offered him a bumper deal, and he's only been there for a year at Leipzig, so there's a chance he signs it. And then there's obviously Chelsea and Man United that are also interested, which I've always said, certainly this season, I said it's a great character assessment for players, for us, if those types of clubs are interested. Because if they are interested in either of those types of clubs, probably particularly Chelsea at this point, it's a financial interest over ours. I can't really understand how it can be anything else. So if they do a Mudryk type thing. One, we've proven that we're quite capable of pivoting, though I'm not sure who we pivot to at this point, but there's certainly options there. But secondly,
whoever the pivot's going to be will be more money,
a lot more,
which makes me think that this is one they really want to get done.
Yeah, because
for the potential, the price allows you to spend more elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think as a collective, which they do the transfers on as a group, they're looking at it going, get this one. Get this. Yeah. If you get me any, if I can, I think if Mikel and Edu are probably sat there, they're probably going to Josh, if we need to get one over, please let this one be the one we get over, because then it will allow us to do much more everywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you look at our front line or front five players of Jesus, Martinelli, Saka and Havertz and who am I missing? Trossard. I think we lack three things. I think we spoke to you about this offline as well. He's sort of like lightning speed, clinical finishing, and like that X factor that you talk about. You see some of these goals that Sesko scoring, like volleys like Van Basten and stuff like that. And I think he's got all three of those to a certain degree, and that's why he ticks a lot of boxes. Do you know what I mean? We do lack those three things. We have Martinelli's speed, but we don't have Walcott on relight speed up there. And when you watch Sesko, you're like, he's not far off, and he's just 20 and he's still developing at 6'5". I mean, lots of reasons, but I also think it really creates an interesting dilemma for Jesus, because it basically says to him, you're absolutely done as the number 9. I know people are still talking about Havertz playing at the left 8. I think that's getting a little overblown. I don't think it will happen as much as people think next season. I think we might do it in game, where we want Sesko and him there, and he might sort of filter to there, but it'll really be a double number 9, it'll be a 2 up front thing. But people will be like, oh, he's in the left 8, but he's not really. It's like when we used to bring him on late to try to score a goal. He was basically playing as a second striker at that point. It's not quite the same as playing in like Xhaka's old role, So I think it will put basically options in Jesus' hand. You're either going to be a rotational wide player for us, or you're going to have to call your agent, mate, which I think is exactly what we want to do. I think that's what we want to do, because there's no way Jesus is leaving without a push from himself. So I think that's a really clever purchase to do early in the window, if, of course, like you said, you can get it done. If we do get it done, it most likely will be the first purchase, right? Because that's the one that's really being hinted at being sort of having some sort of conclusion, maybe even in June, start of July, something like that. So that'll be really interesting. Like you said, I think 55 million is what I put down. I think that's what you put down. If you have another attacker on your list, Jay, I don't know if you do, but if you do, whether it's a attacking midfielder or a wide player, who's your next one?
Okay, Jack. So I feel that we, as well as getting Sesko, we're going to get a winger / wide forward that will cost us between 50 to 80 million pounds. Yeah. You said to me, who's your dream signing? Now, I feel like because you've asked the position, I've got to answer this now. Or shall I wait?
No, combine it. Yeah.
Okay, so even though I do dream, I still have to, my dreams are realistic. I'm not, I don't go over the top. If you asked me this a few weeks ago, I'd have said Alexander Isak without flinching. I don't think that's going to happen now with Sesko coming in. No. So I've accepted that. Am I upset? Yes, I am, because I love Isak, mate. I love him to bits. So a dream winger that I believe is possible. I've got 2. I've got Eberechi Eze, and I've also got Kudus. And both of them have clauses that if you pay, those clubs will sell. People will go, no way, West Ham let you have. If you give them the money they want, like I said, that 50 to 80 million, I think the Eze clause is 65, and I do believe that the Kudus one is either 70 or 75. If you pay
Is there a little bit of a question mark on when that Kudus one is actually available?
I believe that it's any club that's a Champions League club.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, it's 70 to 75 million. Well, as far as I
West Ham fans thinking it was 2025 activation, but I didn't get any confirmation on it when I looked it up.
Yeah, from what I read, it said 70 to 75 mil.
So which one out of those do you think would suit us, but two is more likely, I guess?
I think out of the two, Eze is.
Mm-hmm.
But Kudus has the left foot. Kudus is predominantly left-footed, whereas Eze isn't, which makes me think, does he want the lefty or will he be happy with another righty? But, Jack, both of them are fantastic players. I mean, if we did stump up and buy either of them, I'm not coming on here moaning, mate. I'll be over the moon with either of them.
Yeah.
Because that, you know, people say about you got to raise the floor or whatever, raise the level. Both of them do.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kudus was really, the other thing that makes me think Kudus could be done is again, it was the previously, you know, Ajax waited. They were like, we won't sell him to West Ham because we'll sell him to you. And then Arsenal never, you know, because of the PSR and everything else with getting we were like, no, if we go over that, if we do this. So we buckled out of it. Yeah. So I do believe we like to go back. Like we've said before, within the league and the previous link, or if you've had a previous link to either any of the coaching staff, that seems to happen a lot. Mm-hmm. I do feel that Kudus, I think we could go back in there for him. Yeah, but then out of the two, Eze is more likely, I think, because obviously he'll be cheaper. Yeah, but also, I think you're more likely to get Eze than you are Kudus.
The thing I noted down with Eze, it's like you're speaking and I'm looking at my list and we're looking at the same things. But I had 4 players up on my Squawker comparison matrix just before we got online, and it was Eze, Elise, Kudus, and Xavi Simons, and I thought I'd compare them all. And Kudus looks really good on it. I have to say, he looks very, very good on it. I mean, especially in terms of his sort of duels and take-ons, which is a big thing for Mikel Arteta. The thing that threw me off was the likelihood, on that one. But the other thing that threw me off is I find it difficult to believe Palace will sell Elise and Eze in the same window. I find it quite difficult to believe that.
They will if people fork up.
Yeah, possibly.
They will 100%.
What's really interesting about Eze is under Glasner, where he's really thrived. He's played as a left forward, as a left wide player. And now England are starting to do that with him, which I think is part of the reason why they left old Jackie Weatherspoon's Grealish at home. And that's part of the reason. Obviously, my diamond in the rough there was Xavi Simons. But, okay, so you got Sesko.
Another thing for Eze as well that we've both completely looked over. Homegrown, mate.
Of course, yeah.
So it's
and Elise would count as that as well?
Yeah, because obviously he's been brought up in academies. It was ours and Man City's.
Yeah. So
Arteta's worked with him at both. So,
no, exactly. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so you got your 2 attackers, 55 mil, and we'll say Eze or Kudus, but you're leaning maybe on Eze a little bit more because of the likelihood. I think Eze's release clause is around 60 million, so we can put that down. I think there was a few add-ons in there, but we'll say 60 mil, unless you put something different down. But what is your? So we're working our way back. What's your first? If that's your last attacker, sorry. Yeah. What's your first central midfield signing?
Okay, so here's where, and I'm getting ready now, and you can get ready as well for the bashings, mate. So in terms of number 6, I won't reveal who the person is, but the same person that told me about Tomiyasu before it happened, Zinchenko before it happened, and don't worry about Declan Rice because it's going to be the record bid. He's definitely coming. Don't panic. He has gone to me and he said, James, there's 4 players Arsenal want at 6. 4 that we're looking at. He said 2 are from within the Premier League. 2 are from abroad. He said the main one Arsenal want is one of the ones that are from abroad. However, this will not be done. So he said, we'll pivot to one of the 2 Premier League targets. And he guaranteed me that we will sign one of these Premier League targets. Now, I'm not going to put my testicles on the line and say that we're going to sign the Premier League target. However, one of these 2 Premier League targets was scouted extensively previously And Edu and the rest of the collective group wanted that player, but Mikel Arteta was not fully convinced and refused it. However, we've seen with Arteta previously and the collective group, they will pivot if they can't achieve what Mikel Arteta wants. So I feel that we'll do the same here. So going off on names, because I'll reveal the names of the players, because I know people would like the names of the players. The 4 that I've been told are the big one that Arsenal want, which is the abroad player, is your man Zubimendi.
Yeah.
Apparently for 2 years, Mikel Arteta has been fully on this. I want this bloke. I want Zubimendi.
Yeah.
Now, the 2 that are within the Premier League are Amadou Onana from Everton and Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. And the other foreign player is Fofana from Monaco. That's the 4 that my source, per se, if you want to call it that, he's told me they're the 4 names. Now, out of them 4 names, and he said that one is guaranteed, the guaranteed one that he reckons we're definitely going to sign, I'm happy with it, is Amadou Onana. Right. And he said to me that should be done for 50 million quid. I don't want to go fully out on put my neck, like I said, put my testicles up there to be bashed and trampled on, but we're doing it on what I think / I would like. I would love Amadou Onana, mate. So I have put Amadou Onana for 50 million quid as a purchase on my lists.
Perfect. And no, that's good. I mean, again, a lot of the players similar on my list. This one, me and you probably talk about the most. And I constantly have been battling with myself on this, writing it down my own one on believing wholeheartedly that we're going to sign this central midfielder from within the league. So on the one hand, James, the transition for the central midfielder from within the league, especially for Arteta and from his track record, is proven to be a little bit better, right? Lots of players he's bought like 50% of his players he's bought from within the league. Last summer he bought 3 out of 4, and their transition into the team has been a lot quicker. On the other hand, with Onana, other than those options that you mentioned, he's a little younger, maybe a little bit more raw around the edges. Does any of that concern you with our thought process on Onana? If it is Onana, he's going to come in and he's going to start a fair amount of games early doors.
Jack, I think he's an excellent player. I really, really like him. And he's holding his own in what is quite a poor Everton team. And, you know, they got without the points deductions, they'd have been, I think, level or above Brighton this season. So I'll give him some props there. They're not, you know, but he has not got options at the level of what he would have at Arsenal. And I just feel if you drop him in there with the players that we've got, this is a guy that people may have reservations, like I had reservations about certain players. We all do. But then in the end, you'll go, oh, bloody hell, what a player. I really feel like he will be an absolute monster for us in terms of not just in the Premier League, where he's got experience for 2 seasons and he's done very, very well. I think even in the Champions League, people are going to go, wow. I mean, his long distribution, Jack, if you add like we're saying about adding the speed and the runners, he can ping these long diagonals like they're nothing, like they're absolutely nothing. And, you know, that to a Martinelli or a Saka or an Eze, or dare I say a Kudus, I think, you know, it's all for me about 2 seasons ago, we were 5 points away. This season, we were 2 points away. It's all about what can we do to close that gap. And for me, it's adding people that can get you the fine margins that can win you the games. And his ability, especially in duels, I think is vital. You know, he's mobile and he's strong and he's you know, aerially he doesn't get beat. But in terms of winning the ball and giving it to people that can cause damage, I mean, we already play quite high, Jack, but you can get Rice and Odegaard even that little bit higher, knowing that as well as having Gabriel and Saliba behind me, I've now got this insurance policy of a 6'5" Onana who's no slouch. You know, we always talk about it, especially with Neil and Mike, and we all talk about, you know, when you had the Invincibles and that era of Arsenal player, and they'd just, in the tunnel, they'd turn and they'd look at the next one. He'd nod. Do you not think with a Saliba at 6 foot plus, Rice at 6 foot plus, Gabriel at 6 foot plus, and then a 6'5" defensive, there's going to be a lot of teams coming going, shit. You know, we talked about it before. A lot of these people give up against Man City straight away because they just feel, you know, no one hates Man. I think they'll start to hate Man City now, but a lot of these clubs give up against Man City before a ball's even kicked. Whereas there's still people that go, I fancy myself against Arsenal today, because they haven't got that little, you know, they haven't got that bite. Well, I think some of that's changed with Gabriel and Saliba this year, but you had this 6'5" powerhouse of a monster player in Onana that's not just a powerhouse player. He's also a very intelligent player as well. You know, as much as people go, oh yeah, Saliba and Gabriel on their day are brutes, they're both fucking exceptional footballers. Well, this guy, you know, it is that old school that I like, in that if you want to have a game of football, I'll out-football you. Like, you know, Patrick Vieira is one of my favourite players of all time. Now, I'm not comparing Onana to Patrick Vieira, but what I'm saying is Patrick Vieira used to go to him. You want to have a ruck, then I'll smash the crap out of you, and you won't like that. But if you want to play football, I'll out-football you as well. And this guy is that philosophy for me. Yeah. He's got that ethos, and that's why I really want him.
Yeah, and I'm liking him more and more. Mike obviously sent a 9-minute clip and watched bits of it. I haven't even fully watched it yet, but I've watched other clips as well, and I will fully watch it. And when you do it again, I'm big on I hate it during the season, but during the off season, I do look at lots of like the comparison graphs and the comparison matrix. So of course, I've got even before you mentioned it, an Onana, Zubimendi, and Douglas Luiz comparison matrix up. And what's not surprising, but he just absolutely rinses them on ground duel winning and aerial duel winning. He has less passes, and his pass accuracy is about 1% or 2% off, but he's playing for Everton. They're playing for top 4 sides. I think that has to be taken into consideration, you know, especially when it's quite close. So I'm actually sort of very much coming round to the idea on it, even though in a lot of my threads I've always been, the question I asked to you was, is the combination of Sesko and Onana too youthful for a team that is trying to take that next step to win the title?
Yeah, and this is a brilliant question. I don't think it is. You know, we had the third youngest squad in the league, and they were only a year older from the squad that was in the previous season. And like I said a minute ago, they were 5 points off. Well, this lot are now 2 points off. Again, they're going to be another year older, hopefully another year smarter. And you add these two players, which are young, but I think you put them in the right environment around other top players, which we do have, and they will thrive in this system, both of them. That's what, you know, I'm not putting them on here saying buy them if I don't think that they, you know, I'm not that stupid. I'm stupid, but I'm not that stupid. So, yeah, both of these elevate this squad for me. And hopefully, instead of us going, oh, we're 5 points off, Jack. Oh, we were only 2 points off, Jack. Next season, when we do this again, we'll be talking about how we won it by 2 points or we won it by 5 points. But what players are we going to buy next summer, James, that are going to make that 8-point gap, 10-point gap?
And the weird thing is when you mention those players, I do feel the Luis one might have passed us by in a way because I remember exactly what you said.
He's going to cost more.
He's going to cost more. And the collective, there was a big article that came out. I can't find it. The collective group didn't fully agree on him. And when we wanted him, James, we wanted him for 20-25 mil. I mean, he's going to cost treble that now. Let's be honest. And I'm not even certain they probably would part ways, but, they just got in the Champions League too. So it's not necessarily, they're going to make it as hard as possible. And we know how much Unai Emery loves doing things for Arsenal since he left. So he's going to make it as hard as possible. Because I'm with you so far. I had Sesko. I had, I'll get to my 8-1 in a second, but the two here was Zubimendi or Onana. Those are the two names I listed. I put about the same price on them, put about 50 million on them. Would you say, is that too much on Onana, or are we thinking he probably would cost us about 50?
That's spot on.
Yeah.
And added to that as well, they do have to sell before the 30th of June. So that's another one where if you stump that up, they'll go, yeah. Because they need to meet that. They need to meet that.
Who else is sellable for them? I mean, Lewin, Branthwaite.
But I think that they'll want to keep Branthwaite for another year.
Right, because he's their sort of home product as well, isn't it? But to me, I'm like, what? To find a centre-back that does that well of a job for you this season, if they have another, he's already going to be worth a lot of money now. But if he has another season like he had this season, I think Branthwaite at the moment is probably a 65 to 75 million pound player. You have him another year, you'll get 100. You will get 100. You'll get 100 for him. They won't sell Pickford.
No. Well, again, it depends.
It's ridiculous money coming in for him, but they won't, I doubt.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And then looking at who else they have, I think, like you said, Calvert-Lewin, someone might take a punt on him.
Look, I mean, it's fair to say, James. I mean, he started a lot of games, but he's not been like every game under Dyche, has he, Onana? They've kind of sort of used him as a when.
He did have a small little period out with injury over the Christmas time, but then he recovered from that quite quick.
Right. And the other thing about him is he's tremendously fast. I mean, he's in one of the top 10. It might even be in top 6, I think, in the Premier League. Yeah. I mean, he's so when we think about
when you're 6'5", mate, the strides, the ground you cover at 6'5" compared to the rest of people.
Exactly. No, and he's I like that a lot about him because I mean, let's be honest, Jorginho, Partey, recovery speed concerns us massively, right?
Oh, gotcha.
So we don't have that in the 6.
Look at the Everton game. Yeah. Thomas Partey played
transition, everything.
and the goal, pretty much the free kick goal. Okay, it come off but the setup to them getting that free kick was his fault. Yeah, because he couldn't recover in time.
Yeah, we've seen that time and again with him, and we know Jorginho's positioning better, but he still doesn't have it.
Yeah, and there's been 3 games that lad's played against Arsenal, Onana, and he's bashed us in all 3.
Yeah, and the other thing is Zubimendi to me is like a young Jorginho, and if you're signing Jorginho up for another year, I think it indicates that we know we can't get Zubimendi possibly. So that's where
Zubimendi, like I said, my guys told me Zubimendi is pretty much Mikel Arteta's wet dream. But
he's fantastic. I mean, he is really smooth on the ball. Mm-hmm. He's a little smaller though. He's not quite as physical. Speed wise, I don't quite see it. He's the understudy to Rodri in the Spain team. Doesn't play a lot of minutes because of that. So there's that part of it as well. Onana would give us a different type of midfield. And I think with the combination of the sort of pocket player that we're talking about, give us a lot of variety to our midfield that we don't have currently, a lot of ability to switch Rice to the 6 if you wanted to drop Onana, bring someone else in at the 8. Not had that opportunity this year because we didn't trust Smith Rowe, didn't trust Vieira to be able to do it. Yeah. So I think that's good.
I mean, like I said, the Champions League being a 19-game slog now. We said, didn't we, before that with the Bayern Munich game, we had our chances to win it. It should have had the penalty, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like dwelling on the past, but there we go. But there was bits where they were running through and we would, like we said, it's the European experience and it's the tactical nous that a Tuchel has over an Arteta. With Onana, in these European games, if you're worried like that, spot on, like you've said, you can revert, go 4-2-3-1 and do Rice and Onana as a double pivot and then just have Odegaard as a 10 or an 8 in front of him on his own.
Yeah.
And you'll have no problem with that, because you know that, out of all our midfielders that we've got at the moment, Jack, that are there, our best one at Jules is Declan Rice. But you want Rice to be higher up. So for me, as much as, like you said, Zubimendi is a younger Jorginho, you don't need that. You need a dual. You need a machine that can also somewhat distribute short and long. And I keep going back to it, but Onana for me is this guy. He really is.
Any chances of a De Jong, the dark horse, in this midfield? Very different, right? Very, very different to what we're talking about there. Much more along the thing that throws me a little bit, James. The other thing we lacked.
How much would he cost, Jack? Like, is he 80?
I put 70.
Is he going to be?
I put 70, but I have no idea.
Yeah, because you know what Barcelona are like. They're not selling him cheap. Yeah, because they need as much money as they can get.
Yeah, what he would provide. I mean, I wonder about sort of the deep lying creativity, sort of a little bit. We were not top 4 for big chances created last season. I think a lot of that came from Partey not being in the team for large periods as well, because his ability to move the ball faster, more vertically, quicker. We didn't have him in the team. I do think that was one of the biggest factors. So that's one thing. But out of all the options, I do agree with you on that one is probably the most likely. We know he's going to sign a defender. So who's your defender that he's signing?
I wish I could give you some names.
I've got 2, but they're completely shots in the dark at this point, because Hato's out the window at this point. Sounds of it.
Well, this is it. I've said that a fullback will be anywhere between 10 to 20 million, but I said I couldn't pluck you a name. Yeah. I wish I could, but I couldn't pluck. I mean, he's coming back again. Old glue, push pineapple, shake the tree. He's being linked. Yeah, he's being linked constantly still. But I never, like we've said before, I never trust them, because we've been linked to so many. I remember years and years ago, Twitter being flooded with stuff with Nurai Sahin that was at Borussia Dortmund.
Went to Liverpool, didn't he?
I can't. And I think Real Madrid and everything as well. Yeah. At once, it was flooded with, this guy is definitely coming to Arsenal. I'm telling you, he's coming to Arsenal. Never did. So I don't trust them. I just don't trust these links. What's the 2 names that you've got there? Because I bet one of them would be one that I'm guessing. Just
one of them's completely off. It's not even a left back. So I've gone back and forth with it. Is it a left back or is it a left centre back? I think it's more likely a left back, like you. Yeah. So the left back I went with was Miguel Gutierrez from Girona.
Shout.
And, he's the guy that, he's kind of owned by Madrid. Madrid have a buyback clause for like 8 million, but I don't know if they're likely not going to activate it because they want Alphonso Davies, all that kind of stuff. And he's had an unbelievable season in terms of creativity for Girona. And
he's a previous link. So
he's a previous link. For centre back, I put Schlotterbeck down as a player, but I doubt very much he's leaving Dortmund. I quite liked him in the Champions League, but I don't think we're going for a centre back, because I think our coverage for centre back will be Kivior if he's still there, but I think it'll be White and Tomiyasu as backup coverage. To be honest, that's what I think our coverage will be.
If I'm being pressed, and I have to say fullback within the league. Again, because I've seen it mentioned, but I don't really believe there's anything in it. Nori from Wolves.
Oh, that's the one I saw mentioned as well. Yeah.
That's the only one. I've not seen anything concrete. I mean, I have not seen anything concrete to a left back at all.
No.
There's nothing that I could,
No, there hasn't been. Well, Hato was the one.
Yeah.
Really, but
I mean,
he's staying.
Like I said about putting my testes on the line, I've done that for 2 players. This left back, and then again, this backup goalkeeper that I want, and I think you want, I've done between 5 to 10 million for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know who that is either. I don't know who that is. This left back. Yeah. This left back and that backup goalkeeper.
Not sure, yeah.
I'm really sorry. I've done as best I can to give names on this podcast. I can't with these 2.
I mean, it's hard, isn't it?
Because there's nothing there.
Nothing there, yeah. I've gone for Gutierrez. I said 30 million because I to be honest, I just looked at his market value. I wasn't throwing anything, and I was like, okay, I'll go with that fee. But again, there isn't nothing strong there. But I do think you're right. If we lose Zinchenko or Kivior, what we lack is not a typical left back, but someone that is predominantly left-footed. and he's a little bit more comfortable in that position. And everything I see about Gutierrez is he can kind of do a bit of both. He can come in, he can invert, he can go far, he can do multiple things, and maybe he's a little bit more comfortable than our Tomiyasu's or even maybe our Timbers at doing that role. And it just allows a little bit more flexibility for us. It allows us to put Timber over to right back and not play Ben White 46 games in a row or whatever. And, you know, just adjust a little bit there, because I think the expectancy to have White, Saliba and Gabriel as fit as they were for the whole season is probably a little bit unrealistic. So I think we have to plan for that a little bit and try to make sure we've got alternative options. And I think that would probably do that, because I don't know. It looks like he lost a lot of faith in Zinchenko, possibly, and I'm not sure if we do keep Kivior, if he'd like to just see him revert to being in his chosen position as a backup sort of centre back, possibly. Because in fairness, that is what he was originally kind of bought as, wasn't he? He kind of did a makeshift job for us. Had a very good one last season for 8 or 10 games in a row. So I've gone 30 million there. Goalkeeper, you said you got no name. So
I haven't got a clue.
The only name I had was 33-year-old Jason Steele from Brighton for up at 8 million.
Yeah,
33.
That's roughly. Yeah.
The other links that I've seen are the lad from Feyenoord who's got a dreadful injury record. Bergelo, is it? Dreadful injury record, but he's a very, very good goalkeeper but just a shocking injury record for a goalkeeper, like 2 broken wrists.
I mean, I know some people said about, but we've got Cole Hine, even though he's out of contract, is one of the ones that we've asked to try and renewing it. I'm like, Cole Hine is not going to be Arsenal's number 2 goalkeeper.
Is that because we want him as our third option, though? Because we've got no third option, have we? Because Conquo's left.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just because of that. But
then again, the thing for me is that I'm like, this guy's going to come up. He's coming up to 22 years old. He's Estonia's number 1 goalkeeper. Like, he is. He's there. He's his country's national team goalkeeper. And it's the whole, is he content with being number 3? I don't know. When you get to 22, do you really want to just keep playing academy football? Yeah, you probably want to go and play. Yeah. He's got the option to. Yeah. The other option I saw linked, but I don't think it was credible, was 39-year-old Fabianski. Is he our Scott Carson? I don't know. But, that could be a third goalkeeper option. But again, it's I would have thought, but. Yeah, obviously there was stuff about Fabianski and Szczesny very, very early on. But they're too much of it. Like I said earlier, they're too much of a departure from the goalkeeper that we have. Yeah. I think you need someone that can play with their feet. Yeah. Kind of Flipper, Matt Turner. It's like I said, if we were in a moment of, oh shit, we've got Raya out for a significant period of time. Yeah. Do you really, and I know Szczesny and Fabianski aren't terrible goalkeepers, but we can't be, when we lost Saliba and Tomiyasu, I hate to bring it up because it's not Rob Holding's fault. No. But we had to completely alter our game plan, and it did cost us a title. I will, for me, it cost us a title. And people go, oh, was it just really one play? Yes, because the team then had to go 10 to 15 yards deeper, and it inserted a panic into a team that weren't panicking. Yeah. And again, you sign a goalkeeper that is not to the requisite level, you create a panic. And we've seen with how slim these margins are, because you have got these, we all know what they are. We don't need to keep saying it. Yeah, no, but you're right. They don't slip. That's the thing is that with the money they spend and the way that they utilize the rotation, the level never drops. It either maintains or it gets better. Yeah. And that's what Arsenal have to do. You have to go at your 26, 23 to 26, because I don't normally trust more than 23. No. But between 23 to 26 or whatever squad, you need to be like, I can move him away, he can go in there and it don't dip. He can swap with him. If I want, I can put him and him together and it don't for want of a better word, fuck it up.
Yeah.
That's what we need to. And I mean, most Arsenal fans, I feel silly having to say this and explain this because they know it already. But that is the goal, and that is the level that. And I think we'll achieve it, Jack. I really do.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I will say on the defender, I don't have many names either, but I will say I would happily forego a defender this window if it meant getting in that extra attacker, if money was tight.
Oh,
and you know what I mean? If we're talking about the Eze-like purchase. So just to sort of get I would definitely, I know he's going to get a defender in.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily looking at it believing it's absolutely necessary. We've got the best defence in the league and we're adding Timber to it.
Yeah,
some would say that might be enough. I'm not saying it definitely is, and I'm not going to say I disagree with you.
But I'm with you in that I don't think that defender happens unless one of a Kivior or Zinchenko go.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then you've got 5.
Yeah, so maybe that holds money back for someone more.
Well, I'm like, there's too many.
Yeah.
Like what level are you? But like I've just said, the level needs to go up. But what level of player are you going to get? Because what they're signing, and I'm either going to be 3rd choice or 4th choice.
Yeah.
Out of 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, for me at the moment at left back, everybody, touch wood, everyone's fit. Zinchenko's 4th choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's 4th choice.
Timber, Tommy, Kiwior, and then him, innit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I do think Timber.
If you keep them all and you sign another one, well, what? Zinchenko's going to be 6th choice.
Yeah,
Kiwior's going to be 5th.
That wage that far down,
No,
that creates a problem.
Yeah. That only for me. As much as we always go all defender fetish, Mikel, someone's got to budge.
Yeah,
someone's got to budge because it don't fit. It don't make sense on the, on the Amazon documentary. They had, the war room type thing where they had the big board, didn't they, with all the player.
Yeah.
Left back's just going to be all the way to the bottom of
shocking, isn't it? Can't have that many.
Yeah, you ain't doing it.
You can't have that many exactly. So,
we don't hoard. We're not like these other clubs. We don't hoard players.
No, we can't afford to. We've had to pay them off to league oftentimes.
Exactly.
And we shouldn't be in that case now. So we should be able to get players out and get fees for them, I hope. How good they are, we'll have to see. But so you've gone Sesko, 55 million. I went Sesko 55 million as well. So, we genuinely did not discuss what we were doing here, but we obviously talk a lot about players. So it comes up, you went Onana 50 million. I have to say this one gave me a lot of trouble, even till the 5 minutes before the podcast. I've got Onana written down, Zubimendi. De Jong's name keeps popping in the back of my head. But I do think if he's from the league, it's becoming quite narrow to the point of it being Onana at this point, and because I'm struggling to see like Bruno Guimaraes, we're not going to pay the fee. Douglas Luiz, I don't think there's a certified group decision on him.
Also, just to add out there before people start, John Cross said it's not going to be Onana, which means it's probably going to happen. Yeah. I'm like, don't think John Cross is a source, people.
Yeah, he's shocking. Yeah, he is shocking.
He turns up and he's there a lot, but
no, he's been
I think a lot of people at Arsenal would rather he not be there.
Yeah, he's loud this summer, that's for sure.
It's one of them where they're all sat there and he walks. Oh, look, John's over there, right? But stop talking. John's coming.
Yeah, exactly. So I went. I'll go with Onana too.
Got your landlord on, John? Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, see you in a minute.
Yeah, we'll see you in there. Yeah. So I just about went with Onana. You convinced me to sway towards yours. I had Zubimendi and Onana listed as the same.
You've charmed me.
You've charmed me, exactly. But the main reason being that I feel like we would have already got Zubimendi. And there's obviously some sort of limitation. He's very happy, and so should Dad. He wants to stay there. Obviously,
you said it to me on WhatsApp weeks ago. You're not. Why have we got to sell Arsenal to somebody?
No,
I back you 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Especially at the level we're at now. Either you're on the ship or get off it.
Yeah,
because we ain't got time for doubting and all of this. Either come in or get lost.
Yeah, exactly. I had a Eze written down or a Simons loan, but there's something off with that Simons deal. Something's not right with it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They keep loaning him out. He doesn't want to stay at PSG, but they won't let him leave. And I don't think they're obviously not going to sell him, according to everything they've said. And I don't think we're at the point where we will do a loan like we did with Odegaard. That was when we were 8th. We were in a lot of turmoil. Odegaard was clearly going to come in and be our best player at that point. We're in a completely different stage right now. I'm not sure if he's willing to take the time and the risk into a player that's never played in the league on just a loan. I don't think we'll be there. So my feeling was probably no. So then I end up settling on Eze. Not settling. I think he's great, Eze. I've liked him for a long time. But your other options there of Kudus. And I think Elise is a good one to bring up because he's at the same club as Eze, plays similar position to Saka, which we always keep saying we want. But I just think, I don't know how we'd sell it to Elise. That's my theory on that. If we really wanted him, we'd be like, he knows his best position is Saka's position, and he knows he's not going to start there. And I don't think we'd convince him that we'd move him inside because Odegaard's better. So I'd find it difficult to understand why he'd come to us. At the same time, James, I wouldn't really understand why he'd go to Chelsea. And if he does go to Chelsea, that's not a great sign for his character either, I wouldn't say, especially when you've got Carl Palmer there and Maduik there. Like you've got a lot of players in that position there too, not as good as Saka, but Palmer's had a pretty good season. So so I went with the only different one
I think if Rashford was to leave Man United, which is still a big rumour, not to us, but I think Elise, he would be their starting right-hand side player, wouldn't he?
Plus Anthony's probably going to go somewhere. I don't know who's taking that player, but
he'd be there. For me, next season, whoever the new manager of Man United's going to be, they're probably looking at it going, I'll have Elise on one side, I will bring back Jadon Sancho on the left, and I'll have either Højlund or whoever is my striker, and those three on their day, it's pretty formidable front line. It could be.
I've got I don't know how to get this. It's like wingers ranked, and Squawker brings up a graph, and it's really handy because it kind of looks at everything it looks at all their data that you're looking at the list, but it puts it into a graph format, and it's just easier to see. Elise is very well-rounded. He's very well-rounded, but what he lacks,
you're spot on. Like you've said, you're spot on in that he never normally plays on the left. He's always on the right.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him change.
And we're not dropping Saka. And like you've said as well, you're not coming in at the 8, mate.
No.
Over Odegaard. So, I'm with you. I don't know. Would I be upset if we signed Elise? God, no. But I'm with you. I don't see how you could. How do you sell it to him? As you go to him, you're going to have enough. You're going to have enough games at either of these positions you want to play. Your specialist positions that you want to play, you're going to have the level of minutes that you want. You ain't got it.
The thing with it is, I posted a few weeks ago that, if we're going to Palace, we're going for Eze. He's their superstar. And I had so many Palace fans come back at me saying, no chance Elise is our superstar. And I thought, I genuinely do think fans of their own club know their club best. So he's obviously a huge talent. I still disagree, but they watch it more than I do. So, they both got a little bit of a sceptical injury record, in fairness. I think Elise is actually a little bit worse than Eze. Eze had one big one in one season, but overall he's had, been pretty consistent. The one area that Eze is way better than Elise in is winning possession back in the final third specifically. And where Elise is a little bit better is his ability to take players on, which was quite interesting, according to the data anyway. Saka's the most well-rounded of all these wingers that I'm seeing, though, and that's why we bring up the question. So the only differences I had from you was I put Gutierrez down as the left back because that was really the only one I knew of my head that we were linked with, and I put Steele down as the goalkeeper. So my total price with Raya added is I put 27 million down for Raya. I'm sure I saw that number somewhere, but it may be give or take. So I put 230 million. So you're right. It's above what we said.
So for me, Jack, I've put I always, maybe I'm wrong. I always thought it was 30 million for Raya.
We'll say be wrong. 230, 233.
So I put 30 million for him, that's your starting point. Then you got 55 million for Sesko.
Yeah,
you got 50 million for Onana. I'll say roughly 8 million on this backup goalkeeper, and the left back. I did the marker of 10 to 20. So I was like, right, I'll meet in the middle and I'll say 15 million on the fullback. So
Plus the Eze one was 60.
Well, this is it. This added to my winger, which is about 50 to 80 million.
Oh, yeah.
That would make 208, which is exactly the same as last year. Mm-hmm. However, I think we're going to do the high-end spend on that winger as well, potentially. So I have put the 80 million. I've put the top marker at that because that's what I think we're going to go big on top of the striker for the winger. So that makes it 238. So again, that's still in my 225, 250 mil prediction.
It might be Kudos.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I know. I think we're going to go high-end for the winger on top of the striker.
In fairness, out of all the players we've mentioned, Kudos is the only previous link, really.
Yeah, which does give me a lot of panic in terms of what Martinelli could be thinking. But then, if a Jesus...
left Kudos?
Yeah, he's good enough to play across the three.
Okay, that's a big reason to buy.
Yeah, I mean, if Nketiah, which we've predicted very early on in the podcast, does go, which I think he will, and you sell Jesus as well, you've got massive, massive upside there to go to Martinelli, your third choice down the middle, because Havertz and Sesko are somewhat tall. You know, they are somewhat got that same sort of. Yeah, I'm like, you will be the third down the middle. I know he likes Trossard down there as that third option potential, but I think he would go to Martinelli now. And I think Martinelli would be like, I'll rather have 9, please, than if you're going to get an Eze or a Kudos as well with Saka. You know, Martinelli will see down the middle and go, yeah, I'll have, because that's what he spoke about it when he went away with Brazil earlier in the season, didn't he? He said they were training me to play as a 9, and he went, I've never felt more alive.
Yeah, he also said he doesn't mind playing on the right for Brazil, I read, as well, which Arteta's been helping him with that a little bit as well, which makes you think. I do think there's an opening at left wing. The interesting thing on the Kudos stuff is Ornstein said about 2 weeks ago he has a release clause. Tons of West Ham fans came back with that's not till 2025, and they asked that West Ham employee guy, who's their kind of go-to fan for in the know news. And from everything I read, he didn't confirm when the release clause was activated. He didn't actually answer any of those tweets to him because I kind of flicked through and had a look. So that kind of throws it up as maybe people don't really know when this release clause is going to be active, you know. Obviously, he's only been there for a season. But, yeah, I mean, I think he's a lovely player. I mean, he was great at the Emirates, wasn't he? When we, to be honest, should have won the game comfortably, but he was a great outball for him for the whole game, I remember. And he was the only player I was really worried about on the ball as well. Very, very, very good player. And, you know, they might have a little issue, James, because they were expecting 100 million or so coming in for Paqueta, and it's not going to come in. So exactly. I don't know if they were relying upon that. I'm sure they had some sort of... But typically, you know, West Ham may have been. So where's their other sale coming in? You know, problem they've got is they're not going to be able to play Paqueta next season, probably, are they? Yeah. So then they've got to... I
mean, I would always say watch the space with Salah, because if Salah does leave Liverpool,
yeah, I think they could easily.
Well, then I think Bowen to Liverpool's so easily going to happen if that's the case.
Yeah, and they're not going to sell both, are they? Yeah.
No. Yeah, I think you know, as much as he's with Danny Dyer's daughter, and they've got the kids and the family,
he'll eventually want to make a move. Yeah.
Liverpool come knocking, he ain't turning that down.
No way.
Way.
Hopefully Salah stays for another year and they don't buy anyone. That's the fingers crossed. Yeah. So we're both sort of, you know, at the top end of the 200 million mark, and you know, I've gone a little bit more extravagant than you from the sounds of it with the purchase, and on the sales, we're around, you're around 104-ish million, and I think I was around 114 million. Obviously, the numbers wise, we don't expect to get it right, but it'd be pretty nice if we get even one or two of the players right. My ultimate dream signing was, of course, Camavinga, which is a massive dream. But he is the dream. I think he would cover about two of those purchases there, right there. You could rule out the midfielder and the left back and just put him in, and he'll cover all of it. That's how good he is.
Well, to take my monologue about Onana and times it by about 50, and that will be the monologue I'd give for Camavinga, mate.
Yeah, he's
what a player.
And he's only 21. How old's Onana? 22?
Yeah.
You know, he's still young, isn't he? He's 2 years. 2 years in the Prem he's had? And how long did he play at Lille? He played at Lille for a couple of years, was it?
Yeah.
So he's an experienced young player, which is pretty much what Arteta looks for. Yeah, he had a year at Lille, 32 games, and then he played 33 and 30 at Everton. So he's very experienced. And we were linked to him before he went to Everton a little bit, weren't we?
Well, it's like I said, my good friend told me that, the collective group, when he was at Lille before he went to Everton, said about him, and Arteta weren't fully convinced. And I'm like, he believes that that's now changed.
Yeah,
and he's good. And he told me he reckons it's a definite. I'm like, well, I'm not putting myself up that it's a definite, but he is one that out of all of them that have been linked, I'm like, you'll do for me, my friend. I'll have some of you.
Yeah, I've come around to it. Okay, well, that's been it. That's the big transfer prediction podcast. Of course, we'll be quoting this all the time if we get anything right, and if we don't, we'll just.
I think the rest of the collective Arsenal community will be quoting this, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing, I'm big enough and ugly enough, so I'm ready, mate.
Get your comments in for it. Yeah, so just tweet us at Purely Arsenal FP. Hopefully people get in on this and interact a little bit and talk about it. And we often do one or two through the summer if signings happen, so we can evaluate the player we brought in, or if there's a big sale or a big week in the transfer window, we come back on. Obviously, as we're building up through the pre-season, we'll do a few to get ready for the new season. But it's the Euros now, so I guess we're going to be watching all these players that are at the Euros, your Seskos, your Onanas, people like that, and hoping they look good, but hoping maybe they get knocked out early so we can see if they make the move. That'll be very interesting.
You're more excited about seeing them against Man United, aren't you?
Yeah.
Or is it Liverpool? Is it Liverpool at SoFi? No, it's Man United at SoFi, right?
We've got Man U at SoFi, and I'm hearing we're going to add another game in LA. I did hear it was against Bournemouth, but it's not been confirmed yet. So the Man U against SoFi
where is Bournemouth still going to be at SoFi as well, or is that going to be?
I heard it was going to be in LA, but I didn't get. Obviously, there's other little LAFC stadium and LA Galaxy.
I was going to say, was that Dignity? Is it Dignity or whatever the LA Galaxy? Is it Dignity Sports Health or something? It's called now.
What is LA Galaxy? I used to work there. What is LA Galaxy Stadium called? I can't even remember. It's not a big stadium, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But it's going to go around in my head, so I'm going to have to look it up. It's Dignity Health. Oh, they've changed the name of it. It wasn't called that when I was working. Dignity Health, yeah. So, but you'd think they'd do it at the SoFi again because Kroenke owns it. I mean, it should be available. But that'll be end of July, won't it? So hopefully a couple of new signings in there, and we can watch. I
can see it happening because Bournemouth are US owners now, aren't they, as well?
Oh, that's why. That's why it was mentioned.
Yeah,
but they'd have to reveal that pretty soon. I think it's because we're doing the Germany part of the tour. So because of the Euros and the Olympics and all that sort of stuff. So
mate, makes sense.
It'll get going pretty soon. Yeah. Who's going to win the Euros before we go?
I'd love it to be this that's behind me, but Jack, I think if France do not win it, then there needs to be an inquiry, a steward's inquiry as to how France have not won it. Even though I don't really rate that manager.
I don't either, but he's got a ridiculous squad, hasn't he?
With that squad, to not win it, like I said, you need a massive, he needs to be trialled, mate, because you not got these players can win it on their own without him coaching them. So
I'm gonna go for Germany. Little outside chant. Outside punt.
France and Germany both have an Arsenal player in their team, so I'm happy. As long as one of them's got the medal around their neck, I'm happy, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Southgate's going to get us knocked out of the quarters, isn't he? Probably. Something like that. He's going to bottle it at some point.
I mean, whenever we have to play anyone of any now, that's
Him and Kane will bottle it. Yeah. We'll be waiting for it. Yeah, we'll just get every Arsenal player back safely. That's all we care about. We don't care who wins it, really. But we're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. You can find us at Purely Arsenal. Just type in Purely Arsenal on YouTube and the podcast will come up there. This is your big transfer summer prediction podcast for Arsenal for 24-25 season. Let's see if we get it right. We obviously got a couple of months, but Those are some big signings there, James. I'll be happy with either one of ours, to be honest.
I'll be over the moon.
Yeah, be delighted. Let's fingers crossed. We always go big. Well, Mickey Arteta knows.
Jack, regardless, I'm excited for it, mate. Like we spoke about, yes, the football is getting more and more exciting, but for a long time, squad development transfers and whether the kit was shit or good was all we had. Yeah. And I'm telling you now that the home shirt this season is worthy of a Premier League. If the black and gold and the pink one was worthy of having a title winning side, this home shirt has to. We got to win. We got to win something in this home shirt. It's too nice.
It's lovely.
It's too nice.
I tried it on the other day for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, this is lovely, really nice." Sometimes you put the home shirts on that you look at, and they're awful when you put them on. Like we had one a couple of years ago that had the big cuff sleeves, and I was like, "Oh, that's true." You couldn't tell until you put it on.
Oh, as soon as I can, mate. That's being the new home one's being hung up, mate. That'll be behind me next. That'll be the backdrop for next season. Trust me. As soon as I get one.
It's going to bring us luck, mate. It's going to bring us luck. Keep fingers crossed. But we'll be back as soon as a transfer happens. We will be back. Keep it Arsenal. Keep the faith. We're going big this window. One more step for us. Up the Arsenal. Cheers, James.